Good morning, everyone. I'm Philip Quayeri, the Dean of the College of Management here at UMass Boston. And on behalf of its faculty, staff, students, and our advisory boards in the College of Management, please accept our welcome for this very, very special session in today's convocation. A special welcome to our most distinguished guest, Mr. Roger Ferguson, President Jack Wilson, Chancellor Motley, our trustees, our good friend Paul Connolly from the Federal Reserve Bank here in Boston and member of the College of Management Advisory Board, students from the university, and a special welcome to all the students from the College of Management. I welcome you here today. It's a wonderful day. Indeed, how fortunate we are to be here today in this city, in this country, and especially at this university. I don't say that to criticize others or to be offensive, but the fact is, we have an opportunity that is not available to many others. To live, to work, to study, to be together in an environment that is just so remarkable in its foundation and commitments. We are here. We exist to serve society as a center of higher learning, to seek the truth, as the Chancellor said, to foster innovation, creativity, and openness, free engagement and dialogue about important subjects, to offer programs and services and partnerships that enhance the quality of life of all of our citizens. As we pursue these purposes, we draw upon some remarkable assets here at the university: a distinguished faculty, smart, determined students, a talented and considerate staff, savvy administrators, technology, a library, athletic facilities. Cicero once said, all you need is a library and a garden. Our garden might be small. The roses on the edge of the plaza always amaze me, though. Our garden, though, is much bigger. It involves the city. It involves all those sailboats, all of the classrooms, all of the soft chairs, all of the resources, academic support services, support facilities across the campus, athletic facilities, a gym, fitness center, a natatorium. Yes, a natatorium. Even on a campus, there are people who like to use arcane words to describe a very simple place, a swimming pool, if you didn't know. But at the core, the very heart of a university, the place where it really lives, as an old professor of mine used to say, is in the conversations we have. Not just the casual conversations of every day, but those conversations in which we exchange our experiences, our insights, our values, our expertise, our informed judgments, our knowledge, with the ambition, as he would say, to find a better place for all of us. These conversations happen in and outside of classrooms, among faculty, staff, students, all across the campus. They'll draw upon some of the classic voices of all time. Perhaps the great philosophers. The Chancellor mentioned Francis Bacon, Thomas Edison. We'll bring in Alexander Hamilton into our conversations. We'll bring in Cicero, Michelangelo into our conversations. But we will also ask our contemporaries, those who have an impact upon our society, to join in the conversations that we have across this campus. And today, indeed, we are most fortunate to have such an opportunity. Indeed, it's my honor to introduce our distinguished guest speaker today, Roger W. Ferguson, Jr. Mr. Ferguson, as you have read, is the President and Chief Executive Officer of TIAA-CREF, a Fortune 100 financial services organization with over $420 billion in combined assets under management. He served as Vice Chairman of the United States Federal Reserve Board of Governors, a voting member of the Federal Open Market Committee, and either chaired or served as a member of so many of its key supervisory, oversight, regulatory committees. Prior to his present position, he was Chairman of Swiss Re American Holding Corporation and partner at McKinsey. He holds a bachelor's, JD, and PhD from Harvard University. He is a member of President Obama's Economic Recovery Advisory Board and serves as a member of other boards in both the public and private sector, including the Institute for Advanced Studies and Memorial Sloan Kettering Cancer Center. Indeed, his extraordinary service in the public sector and his experience in the private sector, I think, establish his credentials as an individual we want to converse with. He brings an important perspective, a unique perspective and understanding on the policy and strategy alternatives, operational aspects that underpin a healthy and vibrant economy and society. With that, I invite our guest, Roger Ferguson, to share his voice with us today at Convocation. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Roger Ferguson.
Good morning. Good morning. And Dean Carrieri, thank you very, very much for that kind introduction. This is my third opportunity to be here at the University of Massachusetts, Boston. Every time I come, I'm impressed by the changes that are going on in the physical surroundings, but I'm also impressed by something else that's unchanging, which is the commitment of the faculty, the staff, and the breadth of the students. So it is really a pleasure for me to be here. I want to first, in addition to thanking the Dean, thank our very honored guest here. I see our Chancellor right here in front. The President of the University of Massachusetts System is with us as well. You heard the Dean mention my friend Paul Conley, who is the Chief Operating Officer of the Federal Reserve Bank of Boston. Paul, thank you for being here. And there may be trustees and others, so let me thank all of you for coming. I'm going to steal a page from the President's opening by saying, Happy New Year. So Happy New Year to all of you. As you heard, I have many, many degrees from Harvard, probably far too many degrees from one place. But I've been at 13 different, in my own career, 13 different New Year celebrations of this type. And so let me really warmly welcome you back to campus at the start of what I hope will be yet another great academic year here at the University of Massachusetts. Universities in general, and this one in particular, are filled with energy, they're filled with youth, and with creative thinking. And when you combine all those ingredients, you have a recipe for one thing that's very important, a recipe for innovation, a formula for solving the challenges and answering persistent questions. And so today, my theme will be how do we harness individual and institutional strengths of this institution and many others to confront and answer the challenges that we have. Most obviously, we start today, you start this academic year at a time of continuing uncertainty in something that all of us see, continuing uncertainty about the economy. Unemployment remains stubbornly high. Growth out of the recession has been slow, uneven. The President himself acknowledged that it has been painfully slow. Possibly, and sadly, you may be experiencing some of this personally. Perhaps some of you have lost a job or know someone who has lost a job. Perhaps someone in this room has or knows someone who has had his or her hours cut back. You may actually be tightening your belts at home so that you can continue to come to school. I know from what I heard earlier today that UMass itself is constantly planning to be responsible during this period of economic tension and difficulties. But we should move beyond that and think about the following fact. Over time, universities such as this one will play a significant role in moving our economy and our country, and indeed moving the world forward. This is especially true for what your Chancellor, I've discovered, has described as a student-centered, urban, public research university. Do I have that right, sir? All right. Student-centered, urban, public research university. This university and others like it have an important role to play, particularly during these times, because this university and others expand the opportunity during difficult times to make education accessible and affordable, not just for students from around Boston, but for students from around the world. UMass Boston students are, in a very real sense, in the right place at the right time. Now, you students are developing your individual strengths by harnessing the strength of this fine institution, by acquiring new skills and knowledge that will give you an advantage over less educated peers in any job market, not just the slow one of today, but any job market that you confront in 30 or 40 or 50 years of your working lifespan. Over the course of a career, the college degree that you're earning could result in literally hundreds of thousands of dollars of additional earnings. In an economy, both a U.S. economy and a global economy, increasingly pitched towards services, students seeking university training will develop the specializations, but most importantly, the critical thinking skills that are sought by employers worldwide. But more importantly, though, those skills and the habits that you are learning here and will learn this year will allow you to change the world, so you'll be able to do good while you're also doing well for yourself and for others. You students are also contributing to the strength of this institution, not just taking from it. The research, experimentation, and jobs that you have and that you're doing in conjunction with the faculty are the first steps towards innovations that will move our entire economy forward and will lead to greater opportunities across sectors and at various levels of experience and skill. Your chancellor early today gave an excellent talk about research, and one of the most important things he said, among many important things, is that research will allow you to lead, not just to learn, not just to create knowledge, but to lead. And that is extremely important. As a society, we need leadership. We need innovations to solve a host of challenges that will shape our future. Today, I'd like to talk about just a few of these challenges to give you the context in which you're working. I'm going to talk about retirement security, which is the expertise of my company, TIAA-CREF. I'd like to talk a bit about health care, in part because of the great medical school associated with the University of Massachusetts. I'm going to talk about energy and the environment, because I know from your chancellor's talk that those are themes that are very important to people here on this campus. And then I'm going to talk about the ethical implications that shape progress in all of these areas, because we've seen too often of late that a lapse in ethics is an important part of human weakness that we must overcome. So let me start with the landscape in retirement security, which is where I live and work every day. And I want to make it clear that I'm not just speaking to the professors, I'm not just speaking to the administrators, I'm not just speaking to the staff, but I'm also speaking to all of you students. And that is because the challenge of retirement is a long-term challenge that is a multi-generational challenge, which is also true of the other themes I'm going to talk about. Last month, I was surprised to read the results of a retirement survey by a group called Ipsos, which is a respected polling firm. Ipsos asked respondents their opinion on several issues on the retirement landscape, including pensions. And one of the most interesting findings is that half of the respondents said they wished they had a pension. This was true even among the youngest workers, those who are 25 to 34. And why did I find that interesting? I'm not surprised that the 55-year-old group says, I wish I had a pension. Most of them, I hope, will have some form of safe and secure retirement. Certainly those with TIAA-CREF will have a safe and secure retirement. What I found interesting was that the younger people, the 25 to 34-year-old group, were interested in that. And that is because pensions are really now unusual in the workplace. 30 years ago, more than 80% of private sector workers had a pension. Today, only about a third do. And the question here is, or the answer to what's going on, is that everybody, old and young, are looking for financial certainty in this period of great economic uncertainty. Everyone is wondering, can they pursue their passions and still have a lifetime of financial security? And there's no wonder that this is happening, because people are living longer today, which means that many of us will be working for many, many years, but then will be retired for 20 years or more. And supporting yourself through 20 years of retirement requires steady income. So how will you provide that is a question I think is on many people's minds. How will private sector organizations like my own, TIAA-CREF, and public policy makers respond to the need for lifetime income? And all of you young people know something that all of us older people know as well, which is that Social Security will probably provide the basic level of income, which is vital, but that system is facing its own fiscal and demographic challenges. and many workers will need to supplement Social Security with another source of lifetime income. Now, the ideal solution is to have a steady stream of income through retirement that you cannot outlive. Pensions can provide that guaranteed income, but annuities can also provide such a guaranteed income. And so that is part of what we have to think about in the retirement space, which is the space I occupy, which is getting people safely to and through retirement, and thinking about that across many, many generations. And there may be someone in this room, someone at the School of Management, who may be working on or will be interested in working on that issue of financial literacy and financial security through the form of retirement. But let me move on to my second issue, because the demographic issues that influence retirement challenge are also present when it comes to the healthcare challenge. And that's the second challenge I'd like to talk about. Americans are indeed living longer, which is, of course, a welcome advantage. But living longer costs more money for individuals, for businesses, and for society. And I know that the University of Massachusetts has a great medical school. I discovered earlier today that the recent graduate last year, 2010, from the University of Massachusetts Medical School had been a product here at the University of Massachusetts Boston. So that linkage is strong. One of the things that those who have studied medicine know is that medical innovation is expensive. Today, we can rely on drugs to control a host of conditions, from high cholesterol to diabetes. New therapies are clearly turning cancer patients into cancer survivors, and again, that is good news. And with advances in genetics and targeted therapies, the hope is that we can soon have more effective treatments against things such as Alzheimer's and Parkinson's. Yet none of this is cheap. Each new drug therapy can cost upwards of $800 million. That's $800 million to bring to the market. So an important question is, how will we pay for these advances? And how will we ensure the broadest and most equitable allocation of healthcare resources across not just those who are in the upper echelons of society, but those who are stuck on the bottom rung of society? Healthcare also presents important generational challenges and implications as we come to grips with the fact that, as with Social Security, it is younger people who typically pay the costs for older people. And those costs on a household basis are also quite high. It's estimated that health care costs in retirement can run between $200,000 and $800,000 for a couple. So will individuals be prepared to pay for a higher cost of health care as they live longer? The third challenge that I want to address briefly is one that I know is important on this campus. It's the question of energy and the environmental challenge confronting nations around the world. And while people hold different opinions about the effects of our use of natural resources, almost all agree that long-term reliance on fossil fuels is not good for our economy, for our national security, or most obviously, for our environment. Alternatives exist, but they are still in their infancy. So a challenge for all of us, some that you may focus on this year, is how do we develop these alternatives, make them more cost-effective, and design the infrastructure to support alternative fuels and use energy more efficiently. Time magazine recently reported on investments made through the American Recovery and Reinvestment Act, also known as the stimulus bill. And it turns out that a substantial portion of those investments are devoted, in fact, to pursuing innovation in renewable energy and green design. The Act contains some very specific clean energy goals: lowering costs of solar power by 50% to put it on a par with the retail cost of existing electrical power, lowering the cost of solar power by 50% or so, as I've indicated, cutting the cost of batteries for electrical vehicles by 50% to make electric cars affordable, and doubling the nation's capacity for generating renewable energy. And I heard this morning from the leader here in finance and administration that the University of Massachusetts at Boston is going to take advantage of some of these investments to bring solar power to this lovely campus. So it is clear that our nation and this university are making substantial investments to change the way that we power society. But the question for all of you is, who will lead the meeting of these goals? Who will develop the technology to make the batteries that can power the cars and the homes of the future? And who will develop the business and marketing plans to put these new technologies into tens of millions of homes? So as you start your year, I sincerely challenge you to think about that question, as I'm sure some of you will do. But as we make progress in each of these areas, retirement security, health care, and energy, we'll confront a fourth and more pervasive challenge, which is how do we promote innovation and growth, but do so ethically? In business and finance, ethical lapses became clear in the aftermath of the market meltdown and the credit crunch of a few years ago. Many people disregarded long-term consequences and acted irresponsibly as they sought to maximize financial gain. The results for households around America were ruinous. Sustainable economic growth in the future will require business people, some of whom may be trained here, to ask the question, not only is this profitable, but is this the right way to do business? In health care, new advances often present tough choices about how to deliver care, how to pay for care, and who should receive which types of care. These choices clearly carry heavy ethical burdens and considerations. Energy use, my third topic earlier on, clearly has an ethical dimension. The impact on the natural environment, on people's livelihoods, and on people's neighborhoods can be and will be felt for generations. And in an age when technology connects us more than ever before and holds the potential for limitless access to information, where do we draw the lines? How do we ensure privacy? Another example of this question comes from this recent Recovery Act. One of the goals of that act is to lower the cost of sequencing the human genome to $1,000 so that scientists can map 50 genomes for the same price it costs to map one genome today. But with genetic information more commonly available and so deeply personal, how do we ensure that information and organizations act responsibly with that information? Universities are where ethics should be taught and debated. It's where your values as people and as future leaders are honed. If you think about your responses to ethical dilemmas in the classroom, I at least believe that you'll be more likely to make the right decisions when you confront those questions in your lives and in your careers. Charting a way forward in each of these areas will require expertise across a range of fields: engineering, math, medicine, law, business and entrepreneurship, philosophy, industrial design, psychology, history, social justice, public policy, and more. Your chancellor in his talk discussed research as being interdisciplinary across this range of topics and themes. And often knowledge in one subject can be applied to areas that aren't immediately obvious. That's the joy of research. That's the joy of higher education. For instance, in my area, some of the most interesting advances in promoting savings and retirement security come not from economists, but come from psychologists. And we have a new discipline in economics called behavioral economics, which marries economics and psychology and understands not just what people should do, but what real people actually do. By tailoring policies, products, and communications to the way people actually behave and the way they view their choices, we hope that we can incent them to make what will be better choices. Today, as information is democratized, we should expect innovative ideas and solutions to come from a wide variety of sources. Society is expanding the boundaries of research to incorporate ever more people in the drive for new technologies. from developing electrical vehicles to building next-generation spacecraft. Universities are such rich sources of innovation because they are the home of diverse peoples and interests, multidisciplinary expertise, rigorous analysis, and free ideas. The University of Massachusetts at Boston is particularly noteworthy in that regard, because if I heard it correctly, there are more than 120 nations represented here on campus. 120 nations among the students, faculty, and staff here. So clearly, this is a hotbed of diversity. You are, as your chancellor said, the future here in the present. Universities are also places of continuous improvement, where we enhance our knowledge, our skills, our ability to think and analyze and work collaboratively to reach common goals. You are part of a creative community, and I urge you to harness all the resources that this fine university has to offer. The time that you spend here as teachers and learners, and the Chancellor made another important point, the teachers are also the learners here. You students with your life experience can teach your faculty, just as your faculty will be teaching you. And collectively and individually, therefore, you have the potential to be immensely rewarded and rewarding to the rest of us, both personally and for society at large. For those of you who are preparing to go into the workforce or back into the workforce, I encourage you to think broadly about your careers, to really harness all of your individual strengths. We traditionally think of careers in terms of a ladder, each rung representing responsibility or compensation that increase, but always in the same direction. I encourage you, as you think about your careers, as many of you will be, to think instead about not the ladder analogy, but a climbing wall analogy. Start in one direction, move up, move laterally, take a step over, maybe take a step back, then move up diagonally into another direction. The goal is still the same, to advance, to take on more responsibility, and yes, in the real world, to attract higher pay. But the diagonal path is much more open as opposed to the vertical path. You may be offered a great opportunity that appears to be only a lateral move, but if you take it and learn from it, encounter new challenges, make new contributions, and take away a new perspective or a new skill set, it will be worth the detour. And let me for a minute reflect on my own career, because that is the approach that I took to my career. And I think that also, to be honest, my career has benefited from serendipity. But I did not start out at TIAA-CREF 35 years ago, straight out of college, aspiring to be the president and CEO of the company. Instead, I followed my interest in many different directions, to law school, to an economics degree, then to a law firm for 2 to 3 years, to a consulting firm where I started working in financial services, then moved over into information technology, and to this new thing that was then called knowledge management. I went from there to the Federal Reserve, where I met Paul, to a global reinsurance company, as you heard, and then to TIAA-CREF. That was not a ladder. That was clearly a wall. The advantage is that in my current job, I've been able to draw on a wide variety of experiences that I've had in my career leading this entire organization now. I've benefited from seeing how different companies work, how different people solve problems, and frankly, from seeing a range of problems. I say this not to talk about me, but to encourage you to have exactly that same attitude and approach as you stay here in school and as you move on. Think about everything as an opportunity to learn, even if it appears to be a step sideways or maybe even a step back. So as I close, let me say the following things. I hope that the energy and excitement that you feel now at the beginning of the year, looking at the promise of this academic year, follow you throughout your time here at UMass Boston and throughout your life. As you develop your own career strategy, seek opportunities in which your passions and your skills are aligned. That may not be possible with every job, but if you bring energy to everything that you do in the classroom and in your job, you will broaden your perspective, deepen your human capital, and hopefully find a few of those serendipitous moments which opportunity and success lead you to. Over the next year or so, you'll be studying here. Some of you will be beginning careers, changing careers, or coming to an end of your career. You'll clearly be seeking security, job security, financial security, and retirement security. But I beg of you, please do not confuse security, as important as it is, with playing it safe. It is important to continue to take reasonable and responsible risks. To progress, innovation, and growth, all of those things require people driven by you, well-educated, well-informed, taking reasonable risks, avoiding complacency both in the classroom, on the playing field, in the natatorium, and away from this room, out in the broader world. Those of you who harness the energy of this institution and of your own individual capabilities, who apply that creatively, who apply that towards a new range of problems, will be the ones who help all of us to solve the challenges that I've outlined earlier, plus many others. You may help to bring down the cost of solar power, give us access to the most advanced genomic medicine. You may pursue or find that aha moment, bringing new innovations to the masses. Wherever you're headed, whatever you intend to do, the future will bring you great success. But importantly, that future will begin right here at UMass Boston. So as you start, let me say I am very proud of you. I am proud of the work that this great institution does. I am honored to have been asked to speak at your convocation. So thank you very, very much for your attention. Thank you, thank you, thank you.